Are you on the edge of your seat? Because we're about to sound off with Kevin Williams, covering today's latest trends in location-based entertainment. Brought to you by the LBX Collective, your community to connect, engage, and inspire. All right, everyone, let's buckle up.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to Sound Off with Kevin Williams. This is number 108 for February 3rd, 2026. Kevin, my friend, how are you doing, sir?
Where did January go?
I don't know. It went by so fast. It's crazy. It's crazy.
We're hurtling along. I am fine. I hope I find you fine, Brandon.
Yes, doing very well here in February of 2026. But all right. Well, that being said, how are you going to change my mind here at the beginning of this month?
Well, it's a story that really broke at the beginning of last month, but you know, we've got a little bit more detail, and I'm trying to calm down the panic and the madness and try and define the situation. So I feel that the news about Meta extracting themselves from their metaverse and VR boondoggle is good for us in location-based entertainment because it defines the battle lines and it defines the experiences. That's really what I'm fighting for here. So for those of you that have enjoyed living under a rock and have you got any space for one more, the issues are that our friends at Meta had to admit that, you know, their investment into the metaverse and VR, an investment of $83 billion over the last 6 years, has not gone the way that they thought it was, and that quotes like VR hasn't been adopted the way that they thought it was going to be. Anyway, they decided to pull 30% of their investment out of VR, and they're putting it into their augmented reality and AI-powered glasses. They have just dumped about 1,500 staff with more to follow, and they've just started slashing all of their investment into VR, closing down VR game studios, even in the midst of game development, and closing down their business development for the Meta, so leaving a whole load of educational and commercial and entertainment hopeful users of this system in the lurch. And, you know, it is a purge. They claim that they will not be leaving the VR scene, and they promise that they're working on new hardware, but I wouldn't hold your breath of when you're going to see that. That all said, when people are coming to me, and they're becoming a lot, saying, oh, VR's dead, what are we going to do in the location-based entertainment industry? I point out that Meta had invested in consumer VR, and their fantastic aspirations in the metaverse. They were a failure from the start, and the level of attack and abuse that you received for criticizing them kind of indicated that a lot more people understood that this was turning into an Emperor's New Clothes approach. For a vanity project, Mark has spent a lot of money, but this is not the VR industry per se. This is a component of an initiative that this corporation took in the consumer VR sector. And we're not in the consumer VR sector. We're in the location-based commercial entertainment sector. We offer experiences that are compelling and have proven revenue generation. And so let's not throw baby out with the bathwater. Let us regird our loins and prepare ourselves to have to defend our position of why our experiences are better than what you could achieve on the singular home systems. We are premium immersive entertainment, and I would favor forcing the XR approach to the business to the front rather than saddling ourselves with the inevitable toxicity of what is Meta's failure.
I agree with all of that. I do think, though, that Meta's failure is a problem for those who have built their LBE VR or XR experiences around the Meta Quest platform. And so that is the issue that they're going to have to deal with. And obviously there are other headset manufacturers, other platforms out there. We don't need to list them all here. but it is going to be a painful process for those who did invest heavily into the MetaQuest headset for their LBE VR experiences.
I hate to say it, but we told you. We
Yeah.
warned you. I've been warning companies since 2014 about the dangers of tying yourself to a consumer headset, no matter how cheap or subsidized, as we have to admit, no matter how much of a walled garden led by a multi-billion-dollar corporation. The corporation sees you as a boil upon a boil, and they lance the boil and you are gone. And for those companies now that are looking at 200 MetaQuest 3 headsets sitting in their facility with a license that is not going to be operational, with service that is not non-existent, and for money that they paid for their subscription service to the Horizon for Business approach, they feel similar to the picture that we're using here in the slide. I argue that if they want to know the alternatives, headsets that they can use, there are many resources out there, including emailing us to be pointed in the right direction. I would also argue that if you try and use a Porsche turbo to plow a field and the car blows up, you only have yourself to blame for not buying a tractor. I know that's flippant, but we need to be realistic here. Cutting corners doesn't save you anything.
All right. Well, coming up right after the break, we'll dive into the trends.
Intercard is the only cashless system designed, developed, and manufactured all under one roof. They introduced cashless technology to the amusement industry and have been leading the way for over 30 years. Cashless systems from Intercard increase customer spending, guest satisfaction, and boost revenues by up to 30%. Intercard is so proud to be serving the amusement industry, and if you aren't already part of their global family of customers, they hope you will become one soon.
Thank you, Intercard, and straight into the economy trends. And one of the stories that we were touching upon in Open and Shut was the closure of all of the Amazon Go and Amazon Fresh facilities. These were those magical sites that were powered by AI, hopes, dreams, pixie dust. We suddenly found out that the walk-in, grab it and go camera-based technology wasn't as much AI as a little bit of smoke and mirrors, and AI actually stood for actually Indians, as we found out that there was a large workforce going over all of the imagery that was captured and flagged by this system. It didn't achieve what they had hoped for, and Amazon made it clear that they were going to be closing all of their facilities only a matter of days before they made the major announcement that they would be purging about 16,000 employees from their operation internationally. So some of these venues are going to be turned into Whole Food conventional grocery stores, though a number of them are going to be vacant. So that means we may see some entertainment venues going into the Fresh.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll see. But as I mentioned on our Open and Shut a few days ago, I am disappointed that this didn't work out. I mean, it had a lot of it had the flavor of walking into the future when you walked into one of these, and obviously there was a lot of smoke and mirrors going on behind the scenes to make it work. As I referenced the wizard behind the curtain in Oz, but at the same time, it was really compelling and really somewhat enjoyable to just kind of walk in, get what you need, and go. As they called their own stores, Amazon Go, and really enjoyed it. And it was just too early, probably just too soon for its time. Maybe they'll give it another shot in 20 years from now or 15 years from now as AI improves and as camera recognition improves.
You're right, it was ahead of its time, but that is the risk you take when you want to try and dominate the market. The Amazon platform, their AI recognition and retail platform, is pushing itself into many markets, and they have to establish it early. I think they were a little too early, a little bit too ambitious. But anyway, we also need to be mindful that we have experiments in the location-based entertainment on this approach. Our friends at Dave & Buster's opened up at least 2 facilities or units within their facilities that were based on the walk in, pick up the snacks and soft drinks and go, if through the card recognition. I have heard zero about how that project was going, if it was one of those projects that was culled during the last management restructuring. It is going to be technology that is going to be ubiquitous in our industry and ubiquitous in our lives. It was just that this application and this management approach wasn't ready for market yet. Moving on and into the biz. And we have some interesting sleuthing, thank you to our sources, who now present us the brand new Merlin Entertainment branding. This has just been put through Company House and will be deployed across the brand as the new Merlin logo, IP. And you'll notice that there's one thing kind of missing from the brand new Merlin logo and branding. The word entertainment's missing. I think it's done to make a sexier and more positional brand. These are the early branding copy logos, and we expect them to be plastered across all of their facilities by the middle of the year. But the disappearance of the entertainment phrase and the going for a brand that some people have likened to an online bank logo kind of is concerning. It kind of points in the direction of where the company is positioning itself. The rumors about one of their parks maybe being put up for sale and restructuring of the management. We saw the brand new CEO coming on board kind of makes us raise an eyebrow to what they're doing and how they're positioning themselves for the future. I am using Merlin as a bellwether of the resort and entertainment sector's survivability and health. And to see a logo such as that raises an eyebrow.
It certainly does. This is another move by Merlin that just is at least going in the direction that seems to, I don't want to say confirm yet. It hasn't confirmed anything, but it continues to lead me to believe that my medium prediction at the beginning of this year, where Merlin will file for bankruptcy or go through a major capital restructuring, will happen this year. And this feels to me like the start of that process, whether they, normally this would happen after a bankruptcy, where they're doing this, but this could be the lead up to some sort of capital restructure, major management overhaul, or something to that extent, as they begin to reshape their brand and reshape their focus as well on what they actually are planning to do as an organization going forward.
As a traded company, I don't want to get into avid speculation over bankruptcies or such like. I believe it's a repositioning, and I'm hoping that the new management team is getting ahead of the curve and sorting out their internal structure so that they can come out of this as a leaner, cleaner fighting machine. The loss of the Legoland Discoveries was an obvious indicator of such things regarding restructuring. We wait and see if the rumors about one of the possible theme park attraction venues being offloaded is true. And at that point, so we say the confirmometer will move up a couple of points. But at this point in time, it is an interesting bellwether that we see Merlin go for this kind of branding approach. Moving on, and mergers and acquisitions are plenty in our sector. Our friends at Brogent have decided to break into the facility game. Their motion ride and media-based attraction technology is employed in a number of venues around the world, and flyover, in England that would be a motorway off-ramp, but flyover is a popular soaring style entertainment attraction that's put at high tourist locations. They have venues in Canada, Iceland, and around America. And now to be acquired from the Pursuit organization kind of indicates that rather than selling hardware to companies to make money off of, Brogent has decided to operate the facilities so they get a slice of the recurring revenue as well as deploying their hardware into the market. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a spurt in activity, especially in Taiwan, of flyover venues opening up. We know that the soaring style attraction is popular. The 4D suspended dome style experience is an audience pleaser, especially in tourist areas. And I wouldn't be surprised by the end of this year if we don't see a number of venues announced that will be following this format.
This seems to be a trend. Maybe should have been a trend that I called out for 2026, but it certainly is. It certainly is growing. We have seen that with DOF Robotics and investing in some of their own facilities. We've seen that now with Triotech announcing their facility up in Canada. There's a few others that Valo Motion has talked about doing some of their own Valo Park locations, and then there's another one I was just speaking with this week that's under embargo, but that is looking to open up their own park using some of their own technology and products. And so this is definitely an interesting time where we're seeing manufacturers and suppliers getting into the operations business.
I wonder if we've signed the same embargo. Anyway, it is clear that the manufacturers of these attractions don't want to sell the milk. They want to own the cow, as it were. And we are at that point where if you are a manufacturer of machines and you run your own facilities, that is fantastic. But you are also closing the door on some facilities using your technology because they feel that you are indirectly competition. So there are swings and roundabouts with this approach. Though that said, the market seems ripe for the technology providers to deploy their technology and content into the market compared to selling it at an inflated price that can be prohibitive to their installation. So it's a swings and roundabout situation we find ourselves in, but it's not the only one. Our friends at Journey have decided to acquire the Scruffy Dogs Creative Group. For those of you that are not familiar, the Scruffy Dogs guys are the ones that come up with the ideas and the development for a number of attractions in parks, as well as standalone installations. A number of the attractions that are in the Lego resort facilities were developed by our friends at Scruffy Dog. They are a well-respected operation in the fabrication, development, and delivery of attractions. And for Journey, this allows them as I say multi-dimensional. I don't mean they warp through the fabric of time, but that they sit in a number of disciplines, as it were. And for this kind of cements their transmedia development aspirations. Moving on, in another merger, couldn't talk about it in too much detail during the EAG coverage, but on the LaserQuest booth. LaserQuest is a well-known UK laser tag facility operator and platform seller. And they have decided that their facilities now are going to incorporate much more active entertainment and attractions, along with as companions to their laser tag facilities. And the same argument goes, if you are going to install these platforms into your facilities, then maybe it's a good idea to own the cow that is going to be supplying the milk. And so they have sat down with the UK Complete Solutions, a VR solutions company, who have a very strong track record in developing virtual reality 4D VR experiences. And that now will become LaserQuest Solutions. They will still continue to sell their platforms into the market, but they will also now have the power of being associated with a respected facility operation. It is just another example of what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, it certainly is. This is a little bit more of an interesting merger acquisition than the ones we were talking about. It's almost like a kind of a reverse merger. So LaserQuest acquiring Complete VR versus, a manufacturer of devices acquiring the operations arm. And so interesting that LaserQuest is making that move. They probably were very close strategic partners and just decided to finally get married.
Yes, and this particular marriage is going to be producing a lot of interesting offspring. How much of that will be exclusive to their facilities or sold onto the open market is dependent on the structure of the business model going forward. But I would say that this is the beginning of a trend that will be difficult to evaluate up close, but in a few years' time, when you're looking at a facility, you may not really care anymore that company used to manufacture the product. You'll be caring more about the revenue that those attractions that they have in their facility are generating. And our Genda moment, as always, another virtual reality company, as well as a company that develops 4D style attractions in Japan. Dynamo Amusement have taken on board Mediafront, the latest acquisition. Mediafront actually runs a VR entertainment facility in Japan, as well as develops attractions and VR installations for other people's facilities. So Dynamo Amusement is, one of those companies that is facilitating, developing, and installing. It was part of the reason why Genda took them on board, because a number of the Genda entertainment facilities that are opening up have VR entertainment attractions, and this is the logical continuation of the World Domination Tour that they seem to be involved with at the moment.
This is interesting. I guess not so much the Dynamo Mediafront acquisition, but how Genda is going about acquiring companies now. For a while, we were hearing of Genda acquiring these companies directly. So Dynamo Amusement, you've got, Player One, for example. But now you're beginning to hear these individual, these separate companies acquiring companies. And so you're a few steps removed from the overarching Genda. And I'm not sure what the direct reason for that is, other than maybe to obfuscate a little bit what the moves they are making in the market.
Yes, my flippancy about world domination has been recognized by some companies, and it is easier to smooth the transition of certain corporations into the group, as it were, if it is coming from a third party. It is also part of the segmentation of the operation. So they're now saying all technology and VR kinds of stuff will now not be under the Genda group, but will be under one of their subdivisions, which is the Dynamo Amusement side. I would be interested to know how the Western amusement trade is going to explain to its membership in a few months' time why they have not commented on this situation more, and why they have been, shall we say, retiring in reviewing what is going on. It's weird. The Stinger Report and Sound Off seem to be one of the few places where you can actually know about what's going on here. This is sort of the canary in the coal mine. I'm not saying it's a bad thing for the industry, not at all, but it is an interesting thing that I would have thought warranted a little bit more interest from our sector, and be prepared for a couple more announcements from Genda in the next Sound Off. Jumping on, and a personal favorite of both of ours, the friends at Phantom Peak have flexed their muscle. If you're not familiar with Phantom Peak in London, it is an active mission room and social experience venue, very highly themed, very very developed on their British IP and their approach to the entertainment market, and has made a lot of friends and a lot of loyal visitors over the years. Well, Phantom Peak has been able to raise additional capital, and they're now going to be opening up a second venue in the Westfield Stratford City location, one that we touched upon in a sound off last year. This will be again an indoor themed experience with some social outdoor components to it. Again, it's very early days here, but it is nice to see that the brand is growing.
I'm very happy for them, and I mean, they have an amazing initial product, and I know for many years they've wanted to expand to the U.S. That has proven difficult for them to secure the capital to do that, but I'm glad to hear though that they are still pursuing growth. It is a resource intensive model, given the number of staff or cast members that they have throughout the facility. Quality, yes, exactly. And the fact that they create new seasons, right? So it refreshes on a consistent, regular basis so that the experience remains fresh, and which is why they've driven such strong loyalty from those who do come for repeat visitation, because the story continually evolves.
The only time I've seen loyalty from guests to this level are usually from the big theme parks. It reminded me of my Disney time, or especially viewing the Universal supporters, and to achieve that with a British IP and British cast members is something that needs to be lauded. My concern was that they needed to find the right mix to avoid the Meow Wolf situation where you dilute your popularity too much with your audience. That said, I would call Phantom Peak the UK Meow Wolf, and I hope that they will achieve the penetration and financial rewards that will bring. Moving on, and the investment community is looking very heavy at putting more and more investment behind proven or established or emerging competitive socializing venues. I haven't been to a Rumble Room yet. I'm looking forward to seeing what makes this stand out from the battle bars and the electric shuffles of the world. But again, a proven investment operation is now going to put their muscle behind this and drive this as a asset towards rollout, both in the UK and internationally. So again, we're kind of seeing where the community is going towards growing the competitive socializing model.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we touched on Rumble Rooms, I believe, when they first announced their original opening in Milton Keynes, or Keynes.
You were right first time.
Okay, I was right the first time. Second guess myself. Yeah, they're sort of like I feel like a rougher around the edges electric shuffle. Like their overall style and theming is a little bit more industrial. Yeah, but that's about it. They're basically a diverse, bit of a socializing environment, and it's not super compelling on its own.
It's the beginning of a brand. And that brand, I'm sure, has greater aspirations. And now that the piggy bank has been broken open, they will be able to define that brand. But it is a very competitive market at the moment, and they're going to have to move fast and break things.
Mm-hmm.
We touched upon this in Open and Shut a few days ago. It's our told you so moment. We shook the tree to try and find out more information about what of the claimed Atari venues were still viable. Once we shook the tree, we suddenly found out that the claims that a Las Vegas facility in the Atari Hotel aspirations was a pipe dream and has been removed or exercised from their lineup. You know, they promised in 2020 that they were going to be opening at least 30 facilities within the first 5 years. Obviously, the COVID excuse, the dog ate my homework, will suffice why they haven't opened up yet, though I would argue now They have to prove themselves, and that's maybe the reason why we heard about the Phoenix venue getting funding, though again details on that was scarce, and even our friends at Atari were a little bit closed-mouthed about the exact details. But we can now confirm that the plans for a Las Vegas facility, the first flagship site of the original announcement, is not going to happen.
Yeah. The one in Phoenix, I'm still skeptical will happen. It has not, they have not raised all of their funds yet. So they have raised some, but they made their announcement to basically, I think, garner additional interest to pursue the remaining investment. And so I'm still very skeptical that this will end up even surfacing in Phoenix.
The original renderings that were used for the Las Vegas facility painted a site that was going to be fully themed and populated with the latest attractions based upon a very strong IP. The Phoenix renderings were lackluster, to say the least, in my opinion. And again, if you haven't raised all your money and showing those type of imageries, then you're not going to set the world on fire. As an ex-Atarian, an individual that worked for Atari, even though it was the acquisition of Atari's brand, it is clear that this is a property that's still an IP that still has a lot of transmedia interest, to use that colloquial term. That said, we are now seeing the IP being raided in the location-based entertainment sector. Our friends at Pixel Games revealed the use of Atari classic video game IP in their new interactive floor products, and our friends at Alan One have launched the latest interpretation of the Pong physical amusement and home gaming system. So we know the Atari brand is strong. It's just, it needs to be in the right hands for it to succeed on this level of hospitality and entertainment. Moving on, and if you run a Boston arcade, you woke up to the news that you had brand new competition. And who would have thought that you would be competing with the Logan International Airport? Well, under the current situations in the US, we've seen a lot of delays, a lot of cancellations of flights, a lot of people milling around looking for something to do. And if they're milling around looking for something to do, why not drop a couple of free play arcade classic machines in the terminals? Okay, a number of the terminals will receive these classic machines. I don't know where they've sourced them from the photos that I was looking at in the media. They looked quite good conditioned machines, and usually those type of mint machines find themselves in a retro arcade lounge or bar. Either way, the Logan Arcade has opened up, and 3 of their terminals and their baggage area is populated with these machines on free play. I can't see any attendance nearby, and so I'm now taking bets on how long those machines last before they are rubble in the corner. The first thing that will get stuck on the glass after they've been etched, scratched, spray painted, tagged, retagged, and all of their components unscrewed and taken away through the TSA check-in. I just feel that this is a problem that could have had a better solution. That said, our friends at Chuck E. Cheese in a number of locations near major airports are offering free and discounted entry for families that are impacted by delays and cancellations. So that's one approach, but maybe dropping free arcade machines into public spaces is a management team showing their age, maybe harping back to their childhood in the glorious mall arcade, rather than seriously thinking about entertainment as a means to deal with a turbulent audience.
If this is just meant to be temporary, then okay, because these machines will get beat to shit.
They will be temporary.
This is not a long-term sustainable solution. But look, if it makes a few people happy and less angry at the airlines and at their situation, and they're comfortable with the investment and basically burning money over the next 6 months while these things all slowly fail to work, then I think it's a totally fine thing.
For me personally, this is a social experiment, and I turn to our audience that anyone that's passing through Boston Logan, could you just walk up to where these machines are clustered and take a couple of photos for us? Because I would like to start taking bets upon how long before all of those machines are broken and what levels of failure we're going to see. And I'm also questioning whether Boston Logan has a relationship with an arcade distributor or repair agent. Is that poor guy going to have to turn up every day and walk through the 3 terminals and the baggage claim, keeping an eye on which machines are operational? I don't think so. I think if we're lucky, it's going to be once a week, if not once a month. So we've got this is a social experiment that is being funded by the populace of Boston for me. Thank you very much.
Indeed. All right. Well, coming up after the quick break, we'll keep rolling. We'll just keep rolling.
Power up your game floor with Arcades by Alan One. Whether it's perfectly pouring drinks in Dr. Pepper Soda Slam, grabbing official Butts on Things plushies, or defending cities from attack and missile command recharge, Alan One has something for every venue and arcade floor that will delight your guests. Each game is also enhanced with Major League Esports, a free app that tracks player top scores and brings guests back to your venue for more. Visit allen-1.com to learn more. That's allen-1.com.
And I'm not here to tell the Logan management team their business, but those are the type of machines linked to maybe tournament play that I think they should have considered. But that's just a personal opinion from a consultant over 40 years experience in the market. Anyway, moving on to the tech trends, and one of the technologies of the VR sector that we covered right at the beginning, 10 years ago, funny enough, was the development of the omnidirectional treadmill as an interface for you to move through the virtual reality experience. Our friends at Virtrix were one of those smart companies that understood the possibility of using the location-based entertainment market as kind of a launch ground and promotional tool for their platform that would then also help the sale of their consumer system. And they have seen the benefits of that. That said, they have about 80 venues still rocking their Omni Arena system, though we haven't really seen them push the location-based side of their business for the last 4 years, to be generous to them. They have focused on developing their consumer application, their home platform, and the Omni One, the latest iteration of that, has found favor with the VR market, and so the company is in a position now to go to the markets, and they've thrown themselves on the NASDAQ. And we wish them a lot of luck with that. I am in communication with the company regarding what their future plans are in location-based entertainment, and I hope after PERDA that we'll be able to go into a little bit more detail about that.
Yeah, I've known Jan for many, many years, and just very, very happy for them. Obviously, making the pivot into consumer, the Consumer Omni One was done through Kickstarter originally, and so pretty cool to see where they've come since the original Kickstarter for the Omni One, and now being listed on the NASDAQ. And so, congrats to Jan and the team and all the work that they've done over the years to get there.
You know, if you look at it in comparison to how we started this sound off talking about Meta's approach, a company that built more walls to block the application of the technology and location-based entertainment than embraced, and then you look at what our friends at Virtrix have achieved, you can kind of understand why we were skeptical of the approach that some corporations took. The successes are obvious if you get it right. But it's early days as well. We need to be clear. So, you know, it is a rough ride jumping into the choppy waters of NASDAQ. We touched upon this a couple of days ago in Open and Shut, an immersive experience. So we put this in the same boat as the Pompeii experience, or we put this in the same kiln as our friends with the War of the Worlds experience. Multiple areas for groups or audiences to migrate through. Some of them use the latest projection map and LED screen technology to pass on the narrative. Some of them use virtual reality headsets to immerse the individuals in the world. It is what I would call edutainment. Recently, I've been doing some research into the educational application of XR technology, and I would call this kind of a virtual field trip kind of experience with multi layers. This is a 90-minute experience that you pay a single ticket for and go through, and I would expect it would have certain levels of repeatability. You know, you can't get it all in one go. It is a unique tourist experience, and it also has the ability to be used as a virtual field trip for schools and educationals. So again, feverish, as we discussed in Open and Shut, but also an example of what we can expect to see from a number of other shared reality immersive experiences that can utilize available spaces.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that they've done well as far as creating this quote unquote walk-through immersive experience is that they've really integrated some physicality, some physical components to each of the rooms as well. It's not just sit on a bench and look at walls moving around or the floor moving around. You are able to interact with some of the things in the space. And so I think that's important, you know, having that, if we're talking about edutainment, it really needs to be a mixture of visual, oral, and tactile approaches. And so I feel it looks like they're at least moving in that direction. And then, you know, I think if they're not considering, because you mentioned the school trip, field trip approach to group bookings and group sales to fill the morning time slots and early afternoon time slots, then they're missing a big opportunity.
They're not. They are. They are positioning themselves. All immersive experiences that I speak to and deal with are all thinking about the edutainment component, and that is from just the narrative being informative to the audience to attracting an educational level. There's also other aspects about this being a digital heavy experience, which means it can be updated and various versions along with seasonality can be added to this. It is a compelling narrative, and I look forward to the team behind this rolling this out across a number of other locations. Moving on, and a little bit of information from the EAG coverage, which I couldn't go into at the time. Our friends at Toca Social, along with working very hard on the opening of their site, which I think is their first American location. The company has also revealed that they will be developing a pop-up, small-scale simulator booth version of this, very similar to what we've seen with Home Run Dugout that they developed for deployment in Stadia, as well as a secondary entertainment installation, rather than just being focused on a dedicated standalone facility business model. They are now pivoting or embracing the opportunities that they bring to the table. I was able to speak with the team behind Toca Social, and it is clear that they have a very focused rollout schedule for their facilities. They've sort of sat on their laurels for too long, in my opinion, trying to work out what they are and what they are not. And now that they are kind of taking lessons from the industry around them, and they're trying to play the game of catch up to install this. That said, the team at Toca Football are very smart bunnies, and they have a lot of knowledge of applying their technology in the training and sports sector. And social entertainment is just a new market that they will put their energies into.
This is I think, a savvy move for them. I think this will, at least if anything, get more exposure to the Toca Social brand, but also hopefully just generate some revenue for them in gameplay. And if we're talking about just the US alone, there are 27 Major League Soccer stadiums located throughout the US that I could see these pop-ups either going in some of the parking lots or in the certain areas or in dedicated sections within the stadiums. There's a number of ways that they could do this. And actually 11 of those stadiums have been designated to host matches for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. And so, again, good timing to be developing a mobile sports bay that's focused on football that you can then drop into those stadiums.
A trend I'm seeing is sportainment platforms being utilized as companion marketing and promotional and revenue generators next door to major events. We have the Winter Olympics coming up, and there's some information I have regarding that. There's obviously the FIFA World Cup and the opportunities of having this kind of thing. And then there's the usual, conventional championship playoffs for basketball and baseball that can also benefit from their own shootout or their own home run dugout installation. This is going to be a component of transmedia sport. You're going to be sick of that term transmedia by the end of this year, I think. Some clarification. Our friends at Shuffley beat me up and said that it is their table that is going into the Grand Shuffle in France, and it should have been bleeding obvious, but anyway, I thank them for the clarification. And again, we have some transparency to the plans of the Grand Shuffle, and I think Shuffley is a fantastic partner to have if they are able to achieve their rollout aspirations.
I mean, so I'm glad we were able to make this clarification. Obviously, Shuffley has a great platform in the sense that they have everything from regular shuffleboard to then adding on. They have sort of like a modular platform to their system. That being said, the one thing that threw me off that didn't look like, and maybe it's just because of the concept imagery here that Grand Shuffle put out, but it was the screen. The screen form factor is not Shuffley's screen form factor. So while maybe it should have been quote unquote obvious, I give ourselves a little bit of a pass given the fact that the screen form factor is typically a horizontal screen mounted on a pole right at the end of the table versus this like really flush, sleek looking screen that's in this concept imagery presented by the Grand Shuffle.
We should have guessed that this concept art, the poor artist maybe drove past in a fast car the design of a shuffly board before he had to put the artwork together. No one plays shuffleboard like that, and those terminals on the counter look a little bit. Anyway, we now have clarified the situation. We look forward to actual photographs of the facility now that it's about to throw its doors open. Some clarification in another direction. So I've alluded to over the last sound-offs that I will be presenting at Amusement Expo, and my slot position and details of what I'll be actually talking about are now public knowledge. So the embargo is lifted off of me, at least. I'd like to first extend the thanks to the team at Amusement Expo International for the opportunity to do this. It is important, not just for my ego, but I think for the industry, that we touch upon the impact that competitive socializing has to the amusement trade, especially in North America. We haven't talked about this. It's been kind of a known unknown, as it were. Certain of the older corporations feel uncomfortable about new unknowns, and so they usually push them into the long grass. We're now taking the bull by the horn, to use every metaphor I can get my hands on at this moment in time. And so the social entertainment, amusement competitive edge session will be taking place on the Tuesday, the second day of the educational sessions. I will go into a little bit more detail in coming sound-offs about really where I'm going to take this. This is not going to be a mic drop moment, but it is going to be a come to Jesus moment for the amusement trade. I'm not going to hold back many punches about what are the dangers and what are the opportunities regarding social entertainment. If I'm blunt, I could be doing this presentation at Amusement Expo, or I could have been doing this presentation across the road at the restaurant and nightclub bar. Those two areas are going to converge, and we're going to have to as I've already said, grab that bull and make sure that we're in a position to survive, or that bull will trample all over us. And if you look at the coming coverage in the entertainment social arena, in a couple of days' time, you will see how much of the EAG London Amusement Show had a reference to competitive socializing that concerned the amusement trade, the traditional amusement trade, of how much this industry is eating their cheddar off their table. And as a person that helped start the competitive socializing elements to that show, it is an honor to be allowed by the American trade to bring this cuckoo to the nest for the amusement industry.
Looking forward to sitting in on the session and hearing all the wisdom.
Watching me getting bottled off the stage, I think. It'll be an interesting one, and I hope the firearms are kept to a minimum. That said, we're also pushing the location-based entertainment XR component within the auspices of the Augmented World Expo that's taking place in June. Again, this allows an industry that has a major part to play in all of our industries a chance to shine. And again, I'll be trying to go into a little bit more detail about the initial exhibitors and what we're trying to do with our education and conference sessions there. But it is mindful that you have to be in it to win it. And if this isn't on your radar and you're in the LBX, I keep on calling it the LBX, but in the location-based XR arena, and you don't have a place there, if you're not speaking there, or if you're not just attending, then you only have yourselves to blame if you miss out on the valuable information and opportunities that will take place there. Anyway, that winds up this particular sound off. Again, thank you to those that contacted me to correct previous sound offs or to pass on information through the LinkedIn as well as through our email. We have more stinger reports out there. Sorry for the delay, but we're catching up, and there's a whole splurge of them about to hit. We also have some entertainment social arenas splurging upon us, and we even have some information from the virtual arena that will permeate our archive. But anyway, if you have any questions, if you need more information, there are the details. Well, Brandon, I hope I haven't put you to sleep.
No, not at all. Not at all. All right. It was a great sound off, and we will see you for number 109 next week.
Have a good one.